Hi, friends. This is Dr. Arpita Gupta Dipalma, and you're listening to my podcast, From Pissed Off to Poised. This show is for busy women physicians and professionals just like you who are ready to take control of their emotions while learning how to excel in juggling all the things they are responsible for in life. It's for overextended mamas who are trying to figure out how to work smarter, not harder. It's for multitasking women who are tired of playing the role of the angry and resentful air traffic controller, who simply want to learn how to create a life that is more calm, intentional, and joyful for themselves. My goal is to help you learn how to eliminate the overwhelm and maintain your composure in high-stress situations that you face with the demands in your day-to-day life. Because I get you guys, this was totally me. You are not alone. I invite you to embark on your journey of transformation with me. Enjoy the listen. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Today we're going to be building on last week's conversation about Thursday timeout, or TTO. I know you guys, again, you can pick whatever name you want that works for you, but this is what works for me because I do it on Thursdays like we talked about last week. So first of all, I want you to give yourself props because you made it through the first week. Okay, so congratulations, because committing to this process is kind of the first step. And if you're able to honor that commitment, you are on your way. So we get to celebrate the fact that you were able to commit to time, to calendar, to focus on you, to plan ahead for the following week, and that is amazing. Now, this week, it's going to be time to refine and strengthen your processes that you put in place so it starts to stick a little bit and maybe even serve you better. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be all about reviewing, refining, and recommitting to your schedule in a way that is making sense for you. So if week one felt a little rocky, don't worry. You're going to fill yourself out for the first couple of weeks and kind of make note of what worked and what didn't and tweak and adjust. And you're going to get to a place where this becomes a little bit more effortless. And so we're going to walk through today how to make week two even smoother and even more effective as compared to week one. And I'll say it again, we are learning. We are never going to be perfect at this. Fires and things are going to come up in our life that we're not expecting. So this is our ability to adjust with grace when those things happen. And when you have a system like this in place, it gives you more room and more space to be able to do that. All right, we're just going to go in a stepwise fashion through all of the things that we learned and kind of did last week, but now what we're going to do with it this week. So the first step is to review last week's calendar. And so before you dive into like another brain dump or trying to calendar a bunch of stuff that you still have from that initial to-do list or brain dump, I want you first to take a moment to reflect on your past week. I want you to look at what didn't get done and ask yourself why. There's so many reasons for why things don't get done. And part of this work is figuring that piece out so that you can do even better if you are choosing to do so. So why didn't things get done? Number one, were you procrastinating a little bit? Like you're dreading doing it or really didn't feel like doing it, so you kind of jumped to something else. So notice if you were procrastinating. Number two, notice if you overcommitted. Did you maybe put more stuff on your schedule than was realistic for yourself to complete? Maybe not even kind. So notice if you overcommitted. Number three, did you have a lot of unexpected fires or events that threw you off? Did you have a snow day, for example, that totally threw me off a couple of weeks ago? Did things like that come up? Number four, did certain tasks that you have on your to-do list or on your schedule draining your energy more than you had expected? These are some of the reasons that I come up with pretty regularly or that I notice pretty regularly for myself when I don't get things done. And that's okay. This is how we're building awareness around why so that we can kind of adjust for it for the following weeks. The reflection that we're doing is not about beating yourself up. It's about learning and adapting because your patterns are going to continue to emerge over time and evolve over time. And so this is how you fine-tune your efficiency. And we only do that if we show up with grace and compassion for ourselves because shit happens and things change every week. And so if you can build in a little bit of flexibility and build in a little bit of kindness and understanding for yourself for why you might not have gotten something done, it empowers you to be able to put it in for the following week in a way that you might actually be better at getting it accomplished. One of the things that I would suggest to do also here as a little tip is to keep a lessons learned journal or some sort of a list when you start to notice patterns or routines. So each week, I want you to write down 2 to 3 things that worked well with the prior week, and maybe 2 to 3 things that didn't work well. And over time, what you're going to start to see is exactly how you function best. And you might start to notice patterns where it doesn't suit you well and things where it really does. And so in the beginning, when we're doing this work, you might want to keep a list of that to kind of remind yourself before you start calendaring for the next week. Okay, yeah, this didn't go well, this didn't go well, this didn't. So I'm not going to do that again, or I'm not going to follow that same routine again, or I'm going to shift how I schedule it for the following week. You get to kind of decide, but when you keep a list of the goods and the bads for how it worked, it helps you kind of more quickly remember what you might want to pay attention to the following time. All right, step 2 now, when you're doing your second week of Thursday timeout, after you've reflected on what didn't get done, I want you to recommit to incomplete tasks. So you've identified what didn't get done last week, and you've kind of maybe figured out why, but I want you to now prioritize these tasks first before you add in any new ones. Why do I want you to do this? It's because you want to be accountable and you want to build that accountability with yourself. I don't love having accountability partners. I feel like that kind of gives you reason to count on somebody else to get things done. When we make ourselves go back and revisit the things that didn't get completed and put those in first, we are building an accountability that, okay, it's not going away. This is something that I have indicated needs to get done. So I'm going to put that back in and I'm going to tackle that first. This also prevents things from piling up week after week. So this feeling of dread that a lot of people have because they have all these tasks that just need to get done, they can't seem to get to. When you do the calendaring process and you come back to your week and you reflect on the past week, the first thing I do is if things did not get done, I shift them into the next week or the week after in a realistic, kind space where I know I'm going to have to focus on that first. This simply forces you to confront the tasks that you've been avoiding and move through them instead of letting them linger and push on and on and on. When you do this first, you ensure that no important steps slip through the cracks. You are capturing everything that didn't get finished and moving it forward. And you hold yourself to the standard that you're setting for yourself and then may even be setting for others. All right, step 3, I want you to adjust and tweak your calendar items as needed. Your schedule is a living, breathing, almost like document or app in a sense. All right. It's not going to be a rigid set of rules because if you do it and think of it as a rigid set of rules, you're likely going to have trouble honoring it and getting things done. So I want you to start thinking of it instead as a living, breathing kind of mobile item where you can adjust and tweak. And it gives yourself that space to know that you're going to go with the flow in a sense, with the underlying framework. What do I mean by this? Looking at your last week, I want you to think, did you underestimate how long a certain task would take? Maybe you're finding that a certain time of day works better for you for that deep thinking work than other times. Maybe external obligations kind of threw you off track. So I want you to just go back and again, look and understand why something might have happened, why something might not have happened, and how you need to adjust it now so that it will be more likely to get accomplished the following time. Whatever the reason it was, I want you to remind yourself also that adjusting and rescheduling into your calendar is not a sign of failure. It's you just refining for success. When you keep making these small adjustments each week to make your schedule work better for you, you are on the path of success. So reviewing step 3, go back and figure out why some things didn't get completed. If you didn't give yourself enough time, give yourself more time. If you forgot to account for travel time, account for travel time. If you realize that, trying to do a spreadsheet for math and calculations for rental property stuff, my example from this morning that I tried to do last night wasn't working in the evening. I was tired. I was exhausted. So first thing in the morning, I know I'm the sharpest. So I moved it into my schedule and I did it this morning instead. And again, external obligations. What am I talking about here? I am obligated to make sure the practice is running smoothly. And then the weather comes in and the snow messes it up and we have to move all the patients. And oh, by the way, the power went out too. And now we have no internet. So these things that come up that are maybe obligations, that is an external obligation for me to be a consultant to the practice. And when they need help, I might have to pause my schedule to address and assist as needed. This is what I'm talking about, the fluidity, having the fluidity to make the adjustments and assessing between urgent and important so that you can kind of shuffle and rearrange as needed on the fly. One of the things I like to also offer is when you're doing something new, when you have a new task that you're trying to complete or something that you've maybe never done before with repetition, I want you to time yourself. Just simply have a timer out. And there's a lot of apps on your phone. I think there's one called Rescue Time, but it gives you an accurate picture of how long your tasks are actually taking you to complete. And this data, when you have it, lets you schedule more realistically moving forward how much time you need to do a certain task. Okay. Now, obviously, if you have one-offs, it's not really probably going to be worth it. But for me, like recording the podcast episodes and drafting the copy first and thinking about what I want to say usually takes me about an hour. And so I've blocked off an hour every week to create the episode and record it. And in the beginning, I was giving myself 2 hours a week because I didn't know how long it was going to take. And now I've refined it down to 1 hour, and I know I can get it done when I'm focused and staying on task. So be fluid. All right. Step 4, I want you to plan for life's variables. And I kind of talked about it with the last one when the snow day came up and stuff like this. But I'm talking about maybe more regular variables that are a part of your life, i.e., your kids. If you know your kids are going to be home for spring break or for summer vacation or whatever it is, you need to adjust accordingly. You need to plan in advance because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for frustration because we all know when the minions are home, we don't get as many things done as efficiently. So, for example, maybe you don't schedule the meetings or schedule that intense focus work that you need to be on point with your brain during their peak activity times, when it's not nap time, et cetera, et cetera. If you have to work when they're home and they're awake and they're active, give yourself some buffer zones to accommodate interruptions. Okay. Maybe you say, Mommy's in her office getting work done today. If the door is shut, I need you to give me some time and I will open it as soon as I'm done with the task and I can answer your questions or play with you or do whatever. Create a little buffer for yourself if you do have to work. Again, obviously, this depends on how old your kids are. I'm assuming these are older children, but with babies, maybe you plan in advance and you have a nanny on call who can help you when things like this happen so they can watch your kiddos while you're working. Basically, you need to set clear expectations with your family about when you need quiet time and when you're available. And if you need that quiet time, and if your littles are little and they need supervision, planning in advance for how you're going to have that supervision in place for you is also super important. One thing you can do is maybe create a mom or dad is busy signal. Okay. Like I was mentioning, the closed door or a special little sign, or maybe just wearing noise canceling headphones. Establish those boundaries for yourself and for other people so they know when you can and cannot be interrupted. One of the things I have at my house is I always meditate in the same chair. And everybody knows that if I'm sitting in that chair and I have my AirPods in and my eyes are closed, that they are not to interrupt me. Okay. So it'll vary, obviously, as your minions and people are of different ages and home. But how can you create boundaries for yourself so that you can have some time that you need to get done what you were trying to get done? With this, I want you to also consider setting the bar low, because when we expect perfection from other people to show up based on the boundaries we're creating, we also end up frustrated when they don't meet those expectations. So be realistic. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen here. When you have other people involved, you have to be realistic and allow yourself for some flexibility with the things that you need to accomplish. All right. Step 5. I want you to check for obligations and prioritize what matters. So what do I mean by this? I'm asking you to check for what things you're doing out of obligation. And this is where you're going to have to get honest with yourself, okay? Are you doing things because you want to or because you feel obligated to do them? A lot of times when I look at my schedule, if there are things that didn't get done, there are things that I have volunteered to do or feel obligated to do, but honestly don't really want to do. And sometimes we have to do things that we need to do that we don't want to do. But other times we take on things that we want to do or need to do out of this feeling of obligation about what they're going to think about me if I don't do it, or I'm going to let somebody down if I don't do it. And this is what I'm talking about here. So if you notice that you're doing something out of obligation on your schedule, or that it's not getting done, even though it's because you feel like it might be out of obligation, ask yourself why you said yes, why you're willing to do it. And then I want you to ask yourself, what would happen if you said no now? If you turn around and said, you know what, I can't do it. I'm going to have to pass it back to you later, or I can't do it right now. Would somebody else step up to take the task out of your hands? Honestly, would the world actually end if you just let it go? Again, this is where you kind of get to decide with the urgency of what all needs to get done. I'm going to give you an example. My parents asked me to review their estate documents over the past week, and I was happy to do so. And with this, as time progressed over the week, we had, like I mentioned, the snow closing. We've got an upcoming trip coming up. We have our taxes that we're trying to get completed. And so I easily looked at my calendar and said, oh, I don't really have too much this weekend other than doing my taxes. I will go ahead and tell my parents I can do it this weekend, and I will touch base with you. And I'll even go come and visit you and hang out with you guys for a couple hours and we can talk about it. Needless to say, the weekend flew by. I was still doing my taxes until yesterday evening, as I mentioned, doing work late at night, not working to my best benefit. And I had to look at my list for the weekend and realistically say, I'm doing this out of obligation to them. I feel like I want to help them with it, but it is an obligation right now. I'm going to go ahead and let them know that it's not going to happen. And so that's what I did. I had to call my mom and said, you know what, I'm happy to do this, but this week is not going to happen. Give me some time. Maybe when I'm traveling in the plane, I can look over the documents and we can touch base in a week or so. Totally was fine. Okay. So noticing that obligation and the urgency that you're placing on the obligations that you have taken on, can you actually loosen that grip, loosen that urgency, and be more kind to yourself? Most of the time, people are going to be fine with it if you communicate in advance. So ultimately, what am I saying here? I want you to use this time also to intentionally declutter your commitments. So your time is spent on things that truly matter. Or if they do truly matter and you just don't have time for it this specific week, space it out. Ask for grace. Ask for how much time or what the deadline is for the other people who you're working for, and give yourself a little space to accommodate that if it works in your schedule. Ultimately, we have to practice saying no and saying this with grace. Okay. So there's so many ways to do that. And I talk about this too, that a lot of times we don't like to say no because we feel like we're going to disappoint people. We're afraid of what they're going to think about us. We think that we're going to miss out on an opportunity. Yes, women, we do this all the time when we're asked to do things and we feel like we have to say yes, because if we don't, we're going to miss out. And most importantly, a lot of times we feel like they will pass us up and not ask us the next time if we say no now. So I want you to practice ways that you can say no with grace that still might leave the door open for you. Here are some examples. I appreciate the invitation, but I can't commit to that just right yet. This sounds great, but my schedule is full at the time. Maybe we can talk about it in a couple of weeks. I'm focusing on my priorities this week, but maybe you can consider me next time. Thank you for that offer to be on this committee. I would love to learn more about it and see when I could place it onto my schedule, as long as you can also tell me what's the financial compensation that's going to be provided, i.e., don't do shit for free if you don't have to. Think of nice, graceful, kind ways that you can say no, because a lot of times our mind jumps to, we're going to sound like a bitch, or they're going to think that we're a bitch if we say no. And that's simply not the fact. That's not truth. We don't know for sure that that's going to happen. And honestly, even if it does, who cares? We're not planning on working with them anyway. So learn how to say no. Practice how to say no. All right. Finally, step number 6. I know we spent the first 5 steps thinking of looking at the things that we didn't accomplish. But honestly, and maybe I should have made this the first step, is to celebrate what we did accomplish. So often, you know that we only focus on what still needs to be done on our list. And this is really a recipe for burnout. So take a moment each week to acknowledge what you did achieve, what you did accomplish. Okay. Did you finish a project? Did you stick to your focus time and come up with a great idea for your business? Did you manage an unexpected fire without losing your shit? All of these things are celebration worthy. It's progress. And it doesn't matter how big or small it is. Progress is moving you towards your end goal of being more organized and feeling like you have your finger on what's going on for the most part in your life and in your day-to-day schedule. So this is one of the things that I also like to do, is keeping a list of wins. And I do it differently now. I used to keep my list of wins for each month, what I accomplished or what I was doing towards my goal. I do that monthly now, but more on a daily basis. I reflect back on the day prior and I ask myself, what were my wins for yesterday? And this really helps me refocus my brain on the things that I did accomplish. And it lets me kind of have a little bit of pride in myself for showing me, hey, you did do this. This did get moved forward, or you did move ahead here. And this becomes a powerful motivator and confidence booster that lightens your mood and puts you in a good space so you can keep going. All right. So in summary, I just want you to remember that this Thursday timeout process is going to be very dynamic and it's going to evolve as you evolve in each phase of your life, as priorities change, as children grow, as jobs adjust. You're evolving and your priorities may shift a little. And this is all part of life. The key is to stay engaged, stay flexible, and stay committed to improving each week by honoring your calendar and then noticing which commitments you were not able to honor, assessing why, and then making more adjustments. These small tweaks lead to big results over time. So your challenge for this week is to implement these steps and let me know how it goes. Week 2 of Thursday Timeout is a lot of reflection and readjustment and perseverance of moving forward. So I want you to tell me, what were your wins? What were your fails? How are you solving for it for next week or trying something different and moving forward with that? Okay, so tag me on social media, send me a message, DM me. I want to hear all about it. I want to hear what your wins and fails were, and I want to hear what you're doing next. Until next time, thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we are coming down to the wire, guys. I got a couple more episodes left before we're closing out the series, so use this opportunity to reach out to me and let me know any questions you have or what's coming up for you. All right, we will see you soon. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Remember, transformation is a journey, not a destination, so enjoy the ride. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review From Pissed Off to Poised on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback supports my mission to get this podcast out to help other women physicians and professionals like you on their path to creating a more peaceful life with more intention and more joy. I enjoy reading every message I get with your input and feedback on my journey, so keep them coming. And if you have a friend who might enjoy the listen, please share this episode and show with them. Lastly, if you want to learn more about my coaching programs and course offerings, check out my website at www.thoughtworkmd.com. Feel free to reach out to me to learn more about investing in yourself through one-to-one coaching so you can start living the life you've always wanted. This show is for general educational and entertainment purposes only. Life coaching is not a substitute for therapy or medical treatment.